tell us when and why was the African Development Bank established, and what are the key milestones and achievements over the past 6 decades?
Thank you so much, moderator. Now, on behalf of the bank, of the African Development Bank, I would like to welcome you for this event, and also recognize the presence of officials from the ministry, and also from the utility, and colleagues from UN agencies and so forth. They will introduce themselves. But and also I want to thank the university for hosting us here, as well as our host, the moderator. Thank you so much for mobilizing a lot of young people. Yeah, the audience is very, very gender balanced. And also I see a lot of young women around. Now, probably, if I can give a brief background to this so that we can take it up from there. Now, the African Development Bank was established in 1964. So in September 2024, last year, we launched the 60th anniversary celebrations for the institution. So what happened is that the function was initially launched at our head office in Ivory Coast. And so from then, successive country offices have been launching this event. Now, I always want to make a very clear distinction between the African Development Bank and the other financiers. This occasion, we're launching it together with the government. And probably, as you are aware, that the government of the Republic of South Sudan owns the African Development Bank, is one of the shareholders. So I'm here. My boss is the Minister of Finance, who is the governor representing South Sudan in our highest policy making body. So in terms of our operations, most of our support is mostly at the request of the government, and these are government resources. So it's important for us to emphasize this relationship, very strong relationship with the government. So as you probably, I think you have Googled most of the background of the bank, that it's mobilizing resources for economic development and trying to address the issues of poverty in Africa. So I've been asked about the milestones that probably have happened, but let me focus on the last 10 years, where the president of the bank, President Adesina, came as a new president, and probably introduced a number of initiatives that have been very successful in supporting the government of South Sudan. You know, for those that have checked, I think we have also seen that the anchor of our support is what we have called the high five, which are the five thematic areas in which we support the government here and across the continent. The Light Up, the Power Africa, Feed Africa, Industrialize Africa, and then Integrate Africa and improve the lives of the people. So all these are anchored on our 10-year strategy, which basically promotes inclusive growth. So there have been several initiatives that we have taken in terms of raising funding. I think recently, some of you are aware of the African Investment Forum, where the bank has mobilized about $180 billion. It is a marketplace where investors come and identify major projects for support in the continent. I think South Sudan is in the process of trying to access that forum. I think there are 2 investments that they submitted for consideration. So I think last week, for those that follow the continental development, you are aware that the heads of state at the Mission 300 Africa Energy Summit launched a joint initiative between the African Development Bank and the World Bank to support development in access to energy in Africa and so forth. So there are quite a number of initiatives that we we have initiated over the past 10 and things. But let me be more specific in what are we doing and what are we doing in South Sudan. As you are aware, probably, we're one of the first institutions that the government of South Sudan joined at independence. So we have been supporting South Sudan since 2012. And cumulative, we have spent about 500 million supporting various projects, mostly in agriculture. That's why my colleague here, the water and sanitation. In fact, she has been the driver of most of our program in the water sector, which have been implemented very well. We have been working with UN Women for supporting the youth and women and so forth, UNDP and so forth. So at the moment, we have got an ongoing commitment of about 300 million. So it's a significant portfolio which has grown for more than 60% within the last 5 years. So the government of South Sudan is a very, very important player, both in terms of borrowing from the bank, but as you are aware, because there are still some challenges, most of the support here is 100% grant because of debt sustainability problems that the government is challenging. So I'm sorry I've taken too much time, but I wanted to give the context before we go to specific areas.
Yes, and that brings me to the Undersecretary Ministry of Youth. Would like you to talk about the partnership that you have with development partners, and especially African Development Bank, in terms of improving the welfare and the private sector, especially of young people.
Yes, thank you. And I thank Mr. Temba for the brief history of African Development Bank and what they are doing in other countries as well as in South Sudan. Coming to your question on how our partnership is with the development partners, at the table here, there is UNDP, there is UN Women, and Urban Water, represented by Madam Mary. Yeah, Paul. Yes. So our partnership first is on collaboration and cooperation. What I mean by that is African Development Bank has laid out what they are doing in South Sudan. And there are 2 projects that they are doing that they are funding for the government of South Sudan, implemented by UN Women and UNDP. One of them is a Youth Enterprise Development project that supports youth by giving them loans, interest-free loans, underline that, to go and boost their businesses. As I was seated there before coming to the podium, there was a screen. This screen here was showing some people that were showcasing their businesses, the products that they have produced. Those are businesses that have been supported with the funding from African Development Bank to the government of South Sudan, implemented by UNDP and UN Women. So what we have seen on the screen is for UNDP, and I'm sure there are also other videos for UN Women. UN Women is implementing a project that is supporting Village Savings and Loans Association. We commonly call them VSLAs, where young women and young men are put into groups where they get a group loan, go and boost their businesses, and then they return the same money, and it is given to another group. So it's a revolving fund. And that money from African Development Bank has supported many businesses, some of which have been showcased, and some of which have not, because we have no luxury of time to do all the success stories of these projects. This is how the government, represented by the ministry, is supporting young people in South Sudan. We also have other development partners that have been supporting the youth, and there is UNFPA. Recently, there is also a project launched between UNDP and the Office of the Vice President about the youth, giving them leadership skills as well as experience, so that they can transition from the university to the job market. And that transition has been made easier through that project. We had a project of learning, literacy learning, where young people that have not been able to go to school get informal education by learning how to read and write through Education Development Center. It was a USA organization, but recently, due to the executive orders by President Trump that the project has been put at a halt. So, but there were also success stories of young people who never had the opportunity to go to school, learning how to read and write, and are able to start their businesses. There are so many other projects about the financial literacy through this, and it's done by Stanbic Bank and other partners to teach these young people how to manage their finances when they are doing their businesses, which is a very crucial part, because if you don't know how to manage your money, the money that comes, you will not know which one is a profit, which one is the principal that has come back, and how should you inject back the profit to grow your business more. So these are areas where we collaborate with our partners, as well as the development like African Development Bank. So Mr. Stemba, on behalf of the government of South Sudan, we appreciate your support, and we appreciate our implementing partners for making sure that this project is doing what it should be doing and what it is meant to do. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And let me bring in UNDP, Dr. Ligane, and tell us, how are you as UNDP, maybe together with partners, are really supporting young people, youth, especially in terms of entrepreneurship?
Thank you, moderator, and good afternoon. I want first to appreciate AFDB partnership. Can say that AFDB has written quite a number of success stories that benefited for South Sudanese, but not only for the whole, let's say, region and the entire Africa, because there are a lot of countries that are getting inspiration from the work AFDB is doing here together with UNDP. So of course, there are many areas where we are trying to support entrepreneurship skills and youth development in general. I cannot, let's say, name all of them, but let me just highlight some of them. UNDP, in partnership with the Office of the Vice President, is implementing a program that we call how we can try to foster the leadership skills of women. So basically, we have seen that in South Sudan, as in many other countries, the women are not well represented when it came to decision making in the public spheres and the private spheres. So UNDP step in and try to see how we can dismantle this kind of bottleneck. So in the program we just launched, we are targeting 200 women that we are training. We are providing them with opportunity to interact with, let's say, the professional environment, for them to somehow widen their network and be in a position to get a position where they can affirm themselves. And we are doing that also in collaboration with other international organizations, including also, let's say, the UN agencies, but also other entities from the government and the private sector. And we do believe that once we train them, once we provide them that is needed, they will be in a position to have access to, let's say, the highest level of decision making. As a program also that UNDP is implementing is we are trying to see how we can strengthen the entrepreneurship skills of businesses, and how we can also help some of the SMEs be able to reach out to the regional market. So we are trying to see how we can strengthen their skills in the area of climate smart agriculture, given the fact that we all know that agriculture is one of the backbone of the economy in South Sudan, but we know also that the sector is facing quite a number of challenges. And we are trying to see also how we can, through the platforms that we are developing, help them benefit from the regional integration initiatives that we are starting to see, including the AFTA. And another program also that was mentioned by the ministry, where UNDP also together with AFDB try to see how we can strengthen the skills of the youth, is what we call the Youth Enterprises and Capacity Building Program. Basically, the rationale came from the fact that we have seen in the recent year an increase in the number of, let's say, mobile banking services, or let's say the access to internet of people here in South Sudan. Of course, before it was very low, the access rate, but we wanted to take this as an advantage to see how we can really leverage technology and provide higher access, higher financial inclusion in South Sudan. And the program was able to provide support to more than 2,500 youth. And we also work with, let's say, women in villages to try to see how we can set up what we call village saving loans for them to have access to finance at a preferential rate and to be able also to foster their collective action, because by using the technology, you will be in a position to have more transparency and to also reduce the kind of strategic uncertainty that you might have when they book their production to somehow, let's say, initiate their businesses. So yes, of course, I cannot stop without mentioning the UNIPOD. I think I wouldn't need to elaborate more on this because this is a tangible outcome of the type of support UNDP is providing. And I will just invite our guests here to visit, to walk around, and to find what kind of support UNDP is bringing in South Sudan to make sure that we create a space for innovation. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Meshach, let me bring you in and from FAO as having African Development Bank as your partner. How important do you think is the role of African Development Bank, especially in the agricultural sector?
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator and participants. First of all, really is to say a happy birthday to the African Development Bank for celebrating 60 years. I think they've done a good job over the continent, and the fact that the continent has a bank, it's also, I think, an element of pride for we who come in the continent. When it comes to agriculture in specific, the African Development Bank has been one that is, as you called, about the full development of the agriculture sector. We all know that South Sudan really should not be a country that is in the business of food aid, but because of the underlying problems, the insecurity, then the country finds itself in that. And I want to say that the African Development Bank has been one of the great partners of South Sudan in terms of looking at the underlying causes of the food insecurity. One of the underlying causes of food insecurity in South Sudan is the lack of production and the gap. So the African Development Bank, working together with the FAO and the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, we are rehabilitating their well irrigation scheme. That's just one. 2 weeks ago, I participated, and in one harvest, we had over 2,000 bags of rice. So we were very proud of this work, just showing how much the people in our will took advantage of the floods, not to complain, but to be able to use that to move forward. The second aspect of the underlying cause of food insecurity is climate change. So the African Development Bank, we have a project in Capoeira, and there is great change. We see people who are on almost 8 months, 9 months, 10 months of food ration. Now they can be able to produce their own food up to 7 months. So that's a great move forward. And we believe that those people around the Capoeira area, soon and very soon, if things continue like that, they can be able to exit from food aid and to be able to have that dignity of eating food that you've been able to produce by yourself. The third area is the underlying cause of food insecurity in the country is about livelihood support. All of us don't have to be in the farm to eat. I'm not in the farm, although I have a farm in my home country, but I still eat. So livelihood support is important. And for the people of Juba, this year we hope by August, September, the first urban market, real urban market, will be ready at a cost of about $5.2 million. It's almost 60% done. And when that is done, that area of livelihood support is very, very important. And lastly, the factor that brings about food insecurity is about education and awareness. The number of children who are food insecure and all that, we need education to be able to build up that knowledge base of extension. So through the African Bank, we are piloting and we are working with the Juba University, Upper Nile University to build that cadre of students, particularly in veterinary medicine and a number of other areas, so that students who come in then can be able to shape that future that we want. And we are so sure that with time and with peace, South Sudan really is able to produce its own food. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Let me bring in ER. And I understand the African Development Bank has actually made significant contribution towards the provision of safe, clean water. So what do you think can be the top priorities now to ensure that people continue to have access to clean drinking water and even more?
First of all, good afternoon. I want to take this opportunity to thank the African Development Bank and for allowing us to be also celebrating the 60th anniversary together with them. So it's a privilege for South Sudan as a country. Before I go to the priorities, I would want to bring to your attention the projects that so far we have shared or partner with the African Development Bank or funded by African Development Bank. In 2016, this is when we launched the first project. It was called Resilient Water Project for Improved Livelihood in Juba. And the aim was to provide clean, safe drinking water to the citizens of Juba. We know very well that Juba, before 2011, was a small city, but after 2011, or after 2005 became a very big city in which the population is 1 million and above in each time. So the issue of the water that was meant for 30,000 people then became now not enough for 1 million people. The particular support that was given by the Africa Development Bank funding was to improve the infrastructure. USAID rehabilitated the treatment plant, but didn't rehabilitate the network that takes the water to the houses. So together with the Africa Development Bank, we developed this project, and it has now rehabilitated about 72 kilometers of network in Juba for the whole facility. And we have so far connected 8,100 household connection by now. We are in the testing. I think water has so far reached areas like Kator and Jebel by now. And we're still testing the other 3 zones. We also, after completion of the first project, we were able to develop the second project because the first project was not enough to cover the population that we targeted. So another funding came, and then we also build the infrastructure, reservoirs, and we increase the capacity of water facility that will serve the 8,100. Our project is unique. South Sudan Urban Water Corporation is the implementing agency, so it is not implemented by another third party, and this was a privilege to us. We're able to learn through the project because the first project was 4 years. We were able to benefit from the project for the financial management, which we are also using now in the corporation, not in Juba, but in other areas where the corporation is actually functioning. So the component of the project management was very key. We have improved a lot of infrastructure, including mapping of our water system and billing and all the technologies that are required for us to improve our revenue generation so that we can plow back the revenue to sustain the water facility, because water is life. Water is a free gift from God, but when we come and treat the water, it has some cost. We pull the water from the river, we clean them, we add some chemical, we use electricity to pump it, and we need to continue with it, so we need the revenues so that we can continue with the service. We have also learned so much about the environmental consideration into our projects. From the first project to the second project, we have done assessment of the impact of our projects into the environment, and we have planned to mitigate those adverse to the environment, and we have planted many trees, and we have done so many things. And we have also considered the gender in our projects is one of the important components. So many of our vendors, because we have water kiosks that are sell water by jerrycan, so most of the people, 85% are women in Juba, around Juba, and they have benefited from our intention of giving them the chance to do some job while they are at home. The second project also had a component of a rural areas covering around Juba, and we have constructed about 8 small distribution water facilities powered by solar, and we handed over them to the communities. We have also built sanitation facilities in the school and in public places in about 40 areas around Juba. So coming to the question, we have actually, together with the African Development, through this SOSIP project, the last project that has is just going to end by December 2025, we have also made some studies, feasibility studies in Reng and Malakal. And these feasibility studies are ready, and we have applied to the African Development Bank and other donors so that these areas can be funded for new facilities, including the network. The matter became very urgent due to the refugees influx in those areas, especially Reng. Reng water facility has been really not enough for the population that have come from Sudan. And also Malakal was destroyed by the war during the crisis in 2013 and 2016. So I would like to take this opportunity to appeal to the African Development Bank to put these 2 projects into the priority. And also Juba now we have the network, but the facilities are still not enough. The 20,000 cubic meters that we have now is 10% of what is required in Juba. Because according to the master plan that was done by, supported by JICA, population in Juba by 2025, which we are here now, should have had about 200,000 cubic meters of production. So imagine 10%. I know we have private operators along the riverside, they are helping, but we need to increase the capacity of production. At this particular time, we are going to be zoning the water. We give water to one zone, and then the next day we give it because the water is not enough. So I'm appealing for a capacity of infrastructure of a utility in Juba, Reng and Malakal as priorities for now. And then we'll continue with the institutional capacity enhancement, because this is the key for sustainability of these facilities. Thank you.
All right, let me bring in Rukaya from UN Women. We do understand that UN Women is actually implementing private sector development in a fragile context project. And I would like you to tell us what the project is really doing to promote women empowerment in South Sudan.
Thank you very much, moderator, and good afternoon or good evening to all of you. Let me also join others to wish happy birthday to African Development Bank, and I would like to also start by really acknowledging the government of South Sudan through the Ministry of Youth and Sport and the Secretary Deborah for really being very instrumental in overseeing the implementation of the project that you have mentioned with UN Women, together with Ministry of Gender. Without your support, I wouldn't be able, for the trust you have in us, that's why UN Women is implementing. And I also want to thank African Development Bank for really increasing its investment in South Sudan and focusing on young women, gender equality, and also youth empowerment. Thank you so much. Yeah, so now back to the project. So the project is on private sector development and fragile context. If you look at the main issue that affects women who wants to start or to expand their businesses, can somebody just tell me, the audience, if a woman wants to start a business or to expand, what is the major challenge? Thank you. I'm done. I'm done with my remarks. So our project seeks to address the issue of grush finance that really affects women and young people, young women, including youth also in South Sudan who wants to expand their business and also or even start a business. It also addresses the issue of marketing, because sometimes you can produce, but how do you even market it? And then we also support the institutions that are critical, government institutions. So it has an institutional strengthening component, the government institutions that are critical in also supporting the growth of businesses in South Sudan. And so we are implementing this project because UNDP is also implementing similar ones. So we are focusing in Western Equatoria and then Western Bagaza. These are the areas that we are implementing the project. And we really did a value chain assessment and identify critical products, value chain that we've been supporting. So it's women who are engaged in sesame value chain, honey, millet value chain, and we also have granite, and then poultry. So these are the critical areas that the project is looking at. And then the approach that we use is the village saving. Honorable Deborah already started by mentioning that. So for us, first, before we introduce Gurush, we want to see how do you also manage your own money. So we started by inculcating in these women and young women the culture of savings by forming them into groups called Village Savings and Loans Associations. So once these groups are formed, 30 of them, then they are now further broken into the value chain that I've mentioned, which is micro and small enterprises of 5 women each. Then they go through training, loan management, adult literacy, how to take record of their businesses, how they can negotiate, then also form their leadership structure. Within each of them, they have their leadership structure and then record keeping, how they can on their own. So we start them by putting their own money to buy shares and then saving it. Then after they master that habit of really lending and saving within their own resources, that's when now we help them to do a loan application, and then they apply for loan from Stanbic Bank. So this is why, so from informal businesses to formal, we help informal businesses to formalize. So they have access to a loan from Stanbic Bank, which they use to start or to expand the businesses that they do. And this loan is interest-free. It ranges between $2,000 to $4,000 for the group of 5 women who are engaged in it. And then, so this is how, and in terms of really how the impact of this intervention, just briefly, first is the inculcation in them, the culture of savings. Some of them said it's through this intervention that now we know, even on our own. So some of the group, before we even introduce them to Stanbic Bank, you see that they are able to mobilize 500, 600 on their own over a period of, then they loan it. So they said, you've now inculcated in us the culture of savings. Another one has to do with social cohesion. Before, most of them were just operating individually, but now they've seen that we are bringing them together to work as a group. You know, there's power in the collective when you come together. So they are able to harness their resources, and they are also stronger when they are together. Sometimes they even do division of labor. Those who will be engaging in marketing, those who will be engaging in packaging, those who will be engaging in the production. So it has also promoted cohesiveness and group work. Then another aspect has to, so we have targeted 1,500. So we have created jobs for 1,500 women and young women who are engaged in this intervention in Western Equatoria and Eastern Equatoria. And within them also, they said they have also created jobs for other people because they have women who help them, young men who help them to load and offload. And this is actually helping them. And when you interact with them, we have a lot of success stories where they say, now we can provide 3 meals a day to our kids. We can afford school fees for our children, and we feel empowered because our husbands can make decisions without involvingness. because we have the power of the purse. So this is something that is really important. So, and we believe with increase in economic empowerment of women are also now less vulnerable to gender-based violence. At least they have decent job that they are doing, and they can take care of themselves. And some of them are saying, look, if we want to contest for a political position, we think we now have political capital, because our we are able to participate in meetings, we make contributions, our voices are heard, and critical decisions even in the communities, we are invited. I think I will stop here.
And someone might be wondering, why only the two states?
Say again?
Why only the two states, Western Equatoria?
Yes, because we are doing it together. It's also the division of labor between UN Women and UNDP. So UNDP is covering the others.
Yes, let me come to Mr. Temba, since most of us here are young people, I want you to tell us how is really the African Development Bank is actually supporting youth-driven fintech, and that's an innovation. And talk to us about financial inclusion in South Sudan and the expected prospects.
Okay, so Amen. Yes, probably let me speak at the strategic level, because I think they've given you specific examples of the programs that we are supporting through UNDP and UN Women. At the strategic level, I think there are three thematic areas that we try to promote in these projects globally. First of all is financial inclusion. Make sure that the young people also have access to finance. I think she has mentioned specifically to women. But also there is capacity building and technical assistance. And then financial literacy program and so forth. So those are the three pillars of our support to the youth and so forth. But these are mainstreamed in the specific programs that we are supporting with UNDP. But let me come back to the most important link this with what Rukai just mentioned. In relation to supporting women here. 2 years ago, we did an assessment of trying to find out how many partners are supporting women-related projects and young people in this country, and work together with UN Women. If you look at the model, it's almost the same, whether it's bilateral or ourselves, the World Bank, and so forth. It's basically this way. It's three broad, I think she has mentioned it. First of all, you find is access to finance. And then the secondly is marketing. And then the third is capacity building. There are variations of these models, but all of them, I think the Minister of Youth is looking at that. We have then various instruments within the bank that we've mobilized to support this. But I had a problem with the approach, I think, which we've tried now to talk, okay, and I think we've raised it. Why specifically those regions or states that we're working on? The support, if you look at it, I don't know, others have got different views, is that I don't think taking a project approach is sustainable. Why? You bring in whatever millions of dollars that year, then revolving fund, which is sometimes not sustainable, and so forth. But the approach that has been taken most of the time is through the NGO, UN agencies, and so forth. But we try to be innovative a little bit with UN Women and UNDP to try and include financial institutions in this. So we're working with Stanbic, which then manages the revolving fund of it. Why is a financial institution important in this? Even after the intervention, the financial institution have got a long-term relationship with this client. So the model is that even after initial intervention, you expect a continued sustainable engagement with those clients. So that's a small variations that we've tried to work with UNDP and UN Women. And then secondly, we have discussed extensively that probably the issue is, why do we focus in certain states and not others? The issue is that probably the funds that are available, normally they might be as much as what could cover the whole country. So you'll find that they focus mostly on identifying and capacity building specific areas. But what we have been discussing with UN Women and UNDP is that I think let's grow the cake so that any woman who comes from any state, if they are eligible for accessing those funds, should access those funds. So our approach has been also to try to significantly scale up these resources so that as many women as possible can access those resources. I think UNDP can speak more specifically on the specific program for the youth that we are working on this financial inclusion and financial literacy. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And I think it's now time to open the floor for questions. Just to remind our journalists, later on we'll have a 5-minute press conference, so you can give the floor to, let's allow others to ask the questions. Feel free, we have representatives here from different institutions as we celebrate the 60th anniversary of African Development Bank. You've heard from them, you've had the conversation. If you have any question, state your name and your institution. And if you don't prefer to state your institutions, that's fine. So you can, I don't know the mic. Guys. Yeah. All right, let me start with the lady there. You can come and ask your question.
Thank you so much for opportunity to be here and to listen from you people. I'm so excited. I'm called Sarah Abeja Jackson. I work for Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, South Sudan. Climate Smart Sarah Jackson. I work for Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network, a network that supports young women in sustainable use of land through agriculture that we know is a backbone. I have listened from all your discussions and I'm so excited as a young woman who is interested in agriculture. I have a question here. First of all, I wanted to find out, as someone who is working in a rural area in KGKG, how can I get linked to these institutions? Secondly, what's the life cycle of the support? I heard that it's given and then you give back without interest. What's the life cycle? Because in agriculture, I expect to get a return after the harvest. Then the other thing I wanted to find out, does this support also, does the fund support policy change? Because for us in agriculture, we are already facing challenges in the issues of climate adaptation, and we are trying to work with currently with the Specialized Committee on Agriculture on how we can have a seed act that regulates seed entry into the country, and probably having what we call a seed bank that will have indigenous seeds that are able to be resistant to the climate issues that we are experiencing in the country. So I wanted to know if this support also goes to policy change, and by proxy, the policy change through protection of our indigenous seeds will also support us, the young people, to be able to have seeds that adapt to our current climate issues in the country. And then finally, I wanted to find out, does this funding go on group or individual basis? Because as we also we produce our agricultural products, there's need for value chain addition. And recently we had a discussion on the Africa continental free trade area, where as young people, we can also market our goods out of South Sudan through the AFTA agreement. So is there something like that for us who are practically working in agriculture? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. And inform that journalists can also ask questions. And then you better direct your question. Who are you directing your question to? But then if it falls under each and every one of the institutions, and then they can respond. So let's continue. Yes, welcome. Ladies are tough today, huh?
All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rachel Hakim. I am a tech entrepreneur. That's what I can consider myself. Having a company that deals with entertainment and at the same time an upcoming project that's digital healthcare called Repro Health, whereby trying to help people access medical consultations online and delivery of medications on their doorsteps. While the other one, which is called Google Play, deals with online booking system, at the same time streaming of music and building capacity, whereby for now we are empowering over 26 young women in film, cinematography, script writing, and directing. To be honest, this goes straight to the representative of African Development Bank. There's some things that I haven't known about it before. I knew that, yes, we do have it, but then the depth and transparency about it. I would like to know, how can African Development Bank improve accessibility and information access among entrepreneurs in South Sudan? Because at times you find that there's something happening, but only few group of people would know about it. And then boom, you see it all over social media. And you who have the capacity to do or contribute will be wondering, why was I left out? How can you improve that? I would really love if there's something, me, myself, who's at home, or either on social media or somewhere else, can easily access the opportunity so that we can have equal participation as youth. My second question is, to be honest, a startup is a very hard thing to do. It's very difficult. How better can African Development Bank collaborate with local organizations or startups like me for long-time possibilities and opportunities within the region, or in fact, the country? Thank you.
Men. Okay, thank you so much, colleagues, for this constructive discussion. I'm called Eroy Emmanuel from Women Partners for Health, but we are also partners within the Climate Smart Agriculture Youth Network in South Sudan. I've appreciated the discussion, and we all know that the recipes for economic development lies in agriculture, energy, ICT, and industrialization. And my question goes to the panel we have in front of us, is that in South Sudan, we don't have the stable source of energy, which is electricity. And when we are to venture into industrialization, electricity will be one of the key components which can facilitate our development. Secondly, when we talk about protection of farmers, we start with what my colleague had talked about, the seed bank. The seed bank is not in South Sudan, but also we are advocating for the establishment of seed testing sites across South Sudan. There is influx of GMOs into the country, hybrid seeds, the so-called hybrid seeds, which yield, but they might not be compatible to the soils of South Sudan across the 10 states. So we are advocating for the establishment of seed testing sites where we do seed testing and also seed multiplication. So now my appeal goes to UNDP and African Development Bank. How can we partnership with the Ministry of Agriculture to see to it that we come up with a seed act which will protect farmers, we establish seed multiplication sites across the 10 states in South Sudan, and we push for value addition. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. My name is Makur Majin. My question goes to African development. Okay. Yeah, it is giving me issues. Yeah. Yeah, my question is about. I have some initiative that is not legally registered in South Sudan. It's called Save the Nile. Yeah. This initiative was part of my extensive that I did last year. And I did some research online and published a story map. So these guys of National Geographic, they fund me with some money. And in order to run the project, I need partners. And I don't know. So my question is about, okay, the projects aim to reduce plastic waste along the Nile by mobilizing 30 community volunteers for cleanup campaigns and raise awareness about sustainable waste practice through social media and radio. That's the project. And the question is, does the African Development Bank provide funding or grants for community-led initiatives that are not legally registered?
All right, I have a number of questions, very interesting. And he is doing well, by the way. There was a time we invited him to the studio, and it is actually his personal initiative, but someone like this now needs more support or his work to be amplified. So I think it's a concern, especially from young people. Now, let me start with the African Development Bank, because most of the questions get towards you, so you can pick whatever you want to respond to before we can give the chance to the panel.
Interesting questions. Access to information on the facilities that we are helping, collaboration with the institutions and so forth. I think that's akin from the entertainment industry. Now, I think I throw it back this question to my colleagues who are UNDP and UN Women, who are now working specific with various industry entrepreneurs on these facilities that we are supporting. The issue is we try as much as possible. We don't do direct support to individuals, small projects like that. I think the transaction cost would be enormous and the capacity. So that's why we partner with institutions like UNDP and UN Women, who then identify the beneficiaries and see specific what type of support. I know the frustration. Sometimes I was invited by ANIM to come and address the young people at her center. And I was talking big monies, and everybody was confused. The young people said, but where is this money? How do we access it? I think probably we need to do more of awareness of these facilities. And we've just, I think with UNDP, we just signed a 5 million facility to support to support the young people and women and so forth. I would encourage probably UNDP and UN to work on to respond on what specific initiative they are to make sure that these resources are known by everybody. And yes, in terms of collaboration, that's why we've identified specific institutions like local banks to work with, so that we can channel those resources through the local institutions. But the most interesting one, important, that I wanted to focus, not because the others are not important, but it's one of the major bindings constraints in South Sudan, the energy issue. I think the specific question was how the African development is helping the country. I think we're the only major financier in this. Probably you might not know the scale of the problem here. You know, apart from the supply, it's just the cost of energy in this country. You know, energy is costed in kilowatt cents per kilowatt hour, right? From what I understand, is that the average price tariff for energy tariff here in South Sudan is 46 cents per kilowatt hour. So what it means is, it also depends on whether because you are a domestic consumer, or commercial or industrial, but this 42 cents per kilowatt hour is the average. So if you look at the average pay in the region, it's about 10 cents, I think, per kilowatt hour. So which means you cannot manufacture anything from South Sudan and export it on account of the cost of energy. So what have we done? There are two major projects that we've supported here. I think most of you are aware about the rehabilitation of the network here in Juba. But the more important one that we've done is we've helped the country to just approve the big project last year in December for importing electricity from Uganda. This, from the economics that we have, the analysis that we have done, it shows that you reduce the cost of that, the tariff from about 42 cents to about 12 or 11 cents per kilowatt hour. And then you are not only addressing the issue of the cost, but you're also addressing the issue of access to energy. So the bank, not only South Sudan, but I think most of it, like I mentioned, there was an initiative that we've, Market 300, that we've launched in collaboration with the bank, and we hope they are a pledge of about 15 billion resources. So part of my job is to see that some of that money comes to South Sudan to come and support the energy sector. It's a really, really serious issue. The issue of then seed testing, I'll leave it to Mishak to talk about that, because agriculture accounts for about 60% of our support in this country, so they are doing a lot of things. I think you asked whether they were also addressing policy issues. Mishak will talk about that in specific issues. The Save the Nile initiative, it's a very good initiative, but I think the resources that are involved, this probably might be more easier, be mobilized from bilateral donors than probably us. For us, we focus mostly on big infrastructure projects and so forth. Thank you.
Yeah, first on the question by Sarah Jackson on the climate smart agriculture and the whole issue of policies. Actually, you'd be surprised in South Sudan that the policies, I've worked in Africa, worked in Europe, been in the US. The policy is not bad that you are calling for a change. Perhaps it's about policy implementation. When you look at the specific issue about seed security, which you've identified as an important element, which is true, is one of the important elements of food security, to have seed security policy that is there, and you're calling about a subsector of it, which is a seed bank. A seed bank is where you go and keep it, and you don't use it. You either use it for research, but it's a subsector. But there is a lot of work that is there that if the existing policy could be implemented. Actually, in the agriculture sector, you will be surprised when you look at the government document, two important documents. One is called the CAMP, the Comprehensive Agriculture Master Plan, and the second is the Irrigation Development Plan. These are really paper tigers. They can really push this country far. In them, there are 159 projects. Really, if you change, you'll just change one or add another one to make it 160. So there is a lot to do with the implementation of the policies, which is another debate altogether we can get involved in. When it comes to testing, I want to tell you that in each and every state, there is what we call the seed quality control boards. They are there, and we've been involved in training them, and we are trying to get a laboratory for each of them as FAO. Here in Juba, there is the laboratory, the seed testing laboratory that we do in collaboration with the Bureau of Standards. The problem, like for FAO, I can tell you, we distribute about 10 million kilos of seeds every year. Definitely, South Sudan, just like any other country, has not attained the seed security. There's actually no country with seed security. People have to exchange seeds around. But the issue is to ensure that it's safe and it's good. But those seeds quality control boards are there in each and every state. It's about enhancing their capacity. And then, as you've said rightfully, we need to do seed multiplication. In South Sudan, the only seeds there are, in scientific terms, they are called OPV, open pollinated varieties. These are seeds that you can keep, and next year you will plant again and again and again. But those ones also have its own challenges in productivity. And so there are issues of certified seed that are there. Thank you.
Yes, I would like Deborah to briefly say something to Makur as a young person who is doing this Safe Nile initiative from the Ministry of Youth and Sport.
Yeah, thank you, moderator, and I also thank Makur for his initiative. I would categorize that under the social enterprise initiative. These initiatives, for it to have the weight, for it to be legally accepted by the partners, my advice to Makur is to register it. Because if you don't register it, the partners will not give you the money because they may think this is a project that you want to get money for yourself. So before you go out or before you come to us as Ministry of Youth to support you into soliciting for partners, you have to register and have yourself a certificate of incorporation. From there, we can talk about other steps forward on how to support your initiative. But otherwise, it's a good initiative. There are so many plastic bottles floating on the River Nile, but they get stuck somewhere inside the Nile, and they may be suffocating our fish as well as polluting the water. And this is the water that we consume. Thank you.
All right. Yes? Yeah, you can ask something. Sure.
Yeah, so the question on information sharing, Temba has passed it down to rest, and it's true. We are implementing for African Development Bank, so we have to do, it's something that we've taken note of. We have to do more in terms of communication. When we sign this agreement, we publicize it a lot, and when we are also implementing in those locations, we do a lot of awareness raising, like even something like this at the local level, this press release, so that everybody gets to know what the project seeks to do. We do, most of the time, this also answers the question of whether we, AFDB, work with local partners. Yes, even when they support you and when UNDP, we implement through local partners. And that is where sometimes the gaps are, where when they are also raising awareness, even AFD name sometimes is not mentioned, UN Women name is not mentioned, Minister of Youth or Minister of Gender, their names are not mentioned. So that's because we don't implement directly. You will go to maybe Yambio and see women getting loans. It will be M. Guruj that is giving the loans to them through Stanbic Bank. So if you don't inquire further, you will not even. So we are also trying to improve the visibility of the government, of AFDB, of UN Women, and also share more information, raise awareness about this intervention. So it's work in progress, something that we need to improve. Then regarding whether we give the loan to individuals or you have to be in a group, for UN Women, the model that we are implementing for now is for groups of individuals. So 5 women that come together, then they engage in a particular value chain work, and after some time now they can apply for the loan. They actually have to have a business plan. This business will be appraised and see the viability, because it's a business. It's gurush we are giving you for you to generate more gurush. So it has to be something that is viable. And the loan that is given to you is interest-free, and you should be able to pay back at least with that interest. So that is very, very critical. We give to individual. But Temba has been a strong advocate. And he said, look, you have to rethink your intervention. If a woman is anywhere, he wants to make sure that, like Sarah or anywhere, regardless of where you are, you should be able to access that facility. But so now we are in the pilot, we are implementing the pilot one. Maybe as we deepen or move to the other phase, we'll see the adjustment that we'll make to make it flexible, because it also comes with huge cost. If the amount is not much, and then I'm based in Juba, my office, and I don't have capacity to operate in Upper Nile because I need to give the funding maybe to implementing partner to monitor. We'll not be able, because we don't just give you the money, we also monitor, we accompany you We monitor you, we do training, we provide you business support, we link you to market. So we want to have that capacity. That's why you see that there are restrictions in the operational areas. But we are trying to see how we can really broaden that. And in terms of policy, well, I also want to let you know that the Ministry of Gender and the Ministry of Youth and Sport, as part of the implementation of the peace agreement, they are trying to establish the Women Enterprise Fund and the Youth Enterprise Fund. So UNDP is leading on the Youth Enterprise Fund, and UN Women is leading on the Women Enterprise Fund. And it's actually innovatively linked to the AFDB funding. So now the bill has been developed, is going through different approval processes, and hopefully this funding mechanism that we are implementing through Stanbic Bank is also supposed to support a national fund for young people and also for women, so that businesses that you are all mentioning, all these innovative ideas, you are also able to apply and access that resource. So that is the future that we are looking at going forward. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Dr. Legani, we'll give you the last opportunity. Then we'll take one last round, especially for journalists, and then we will wind up. Yes,
yes, just briefly to reflect on the operating mode of the financial facility. I have first to highlight that, yes, of course, I agree, we need to communicate more, because this is the biggest financial facility post-peace agreement that we are having here in South Sudan. And basically, we are not providing support to farm management activities or water management activities. It's all about here market access, and it's also about financial access. So far we are piloting in 14 countries, in Central Equatoria, East Equatoria, Lake State, Jonglei, and I think Upper Nile. But the aim is to extend it also to increase the reach. And I have to say also that it's only targeting youth, because we believe that the future of South Sudan cannot be made without the youth. And we have also to highlight also that besides the, let's say, youth development fund that she just mentioned, we are trying also to foster, strengthen the policy side of investment. With support from AFDB, we are trying to see how we can set up a one-shop investment facilities where you will be having all the conditions to somehow fast-track the establishment of businesses, because it has been rightly established that having such a kind of predictable law, like the investment plan that we just launched, is by far more cost-efficient than just providing kind of incentive that might help businesses thrive. So I think we'll just stop here, and thank you.
All right. Journalists, there is no, I doubt if it will happen. So you just summarize your questions. Yes, come, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm not a journalist, but I work for National NGO in South Sudan. My name is Paul Doctor. I work for TT Foundation. It's a national women-led organization. I have only 2 questions. First of all, I wanted to appreciate the programmers and having this plan to us to come and meet and listen to all what the African Development Bank is doing in cooperation with the UNDP and UN Women and other partners. My question goes to African Development Bank. In South Sudan, all along, we have been discussing, and the discussion has been going on in UN and all different forums about localization agenda. My question to them is, what are their plans, how they can be able to work with the local partners to make sure move the plan to reach to the people in need in different locations that can be able to support them, working with the local partners directly. Because we had, it's only UNDP and the UN Women receiving the funding directly from African Development Bank. No local organization being mentioned. My question is, what are your plans to work directly with the local partners? Again, my other question goes to UNDP and UN Women. I wanted to also thank you people that you have been supporting the youth and women in South Sudan to move them from a poverty line to another level. As you have said, you are supporting groups. I know national NGOs have played a lot of role in supporting the youth and women in South Sudan. Can you also let us know how many local partners have you collaborated with to support the youth and women in South Sudan? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Um, okay. I go by the name Per Bolgaran. Per. Per. Yeah. Per Bolgaran. I'm from this institution called Girls Empowerment Initiative. It's an upcoming organization which was just formed and registered. And the question I'm about to ask will directly go to the human woman. As the UN woman, for us, we the Girls Empowerment Initiative South Sudan, we are an upcoming initiative which really needs support, and we would like you to tell us in which way can you help us to reach out to the other girls, because what we do in our initiative, we do talk shows with girls, we reach out to schools, and we also we want to go to the national level whereby we shall reach them in the other states and also discuss. We discuss more about leadership training. We also empower them in a way that they should be in development of South Sudan, which is our main aim, and we also teach them more about health and all that. So through that, I would like the UN woman to maybe answer us in a way that how can you help us move forward with such an organization, and it will be a pleasure to hear from you.
All right, let's hurry up because we're running out of time. Let's just be precise to the point and ask your question. Yes.
Thank you. I was actually waiting for the press conference, but it seems he's not going to be there. Okay. My name is Jim Emmanuel. I am a journalist. My question goes to the Undersecretary in the Ministry of Youth. Where are we with the Youth Enterprise Fund? It seems every year we keep talking about it, and there is nothing that is happening. Are you facing challenge in terms of pushing for this bill to be out? Or what exactly is the problem? Thank you.
All right. Yes. Chop. Okay. Pick two more and then we'll give the final.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kebang Minkwetiap. I'm from Star International University. Yeah. So I came here as I'm the guild president of the university. My question goes to the representative for Ministry of Youth and Sports and UN Women. Yeah. So I came to realize that there are women who love leadership, yeah, and I'm one of them. But there is limited access to leadership and the opportunities that you get through the leadership, yeah? The privileges that you get, there is limited access. Like, yeah, I've also had limited access, yeah? My term is almost ending, but I've not yet seen opportunities. So apart from that, the Guild Council of Star International University is partnering with, there is this organization, Educational Support Services, yeah? So we are partnering it, and there is this initiative that they started. It's a career guidance program. We were working to extend this program to secondary schools, to the youth in universities, yeah? But we had limited support for making these copies reach these universities. So I was asking, my first question is, how will you extend your support to women or girls who are very interested in leadership? I've had one from Madam, I forgot the name, but she's also one. I have loved their women empowerment because I love women empowerment, yes. So we just need support, and I want to ask, how will you extend this support to women who are interested in leadership? And is this program something that you would support? Because I think it's very interesting. There are youths that do not know career, yeah? You may do a wrong career and later on regret in your life. Yeah, so those are my questions. Thank you.
It's good that you love leadership and you love power. Oh, very interesting. One more, and then we can come back to it. Yeah? This one? Come. This one? All right, we'll take two from here and one from there. Come. Getting it. All right.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so I'm Big Chris Mustafa from Stafford International University. I'm here based on internship programs. For us, like I'm a final year student, and it's really difficult to access these internships that you give out. What will you do for us in order for us to access these internship programs? Because it is really difficult, especially for us, the female students. Accounting and finance.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joy Ladu, and I'm the managing director of a company called Company. I like to refer to myself as a farmer. Our company works with women farmers, currently servicing over 3,000 farmers. And I would like to appreciate the work of the African Development Bank, because our institution was actually one of the beneficiaries of the loan that was granted. And with this loan, we were able to work with women in the shea nut value chain, impacting over 200 women, where we provided them with market linkage. We bought shea nuts from them, and the impact that we saw was per season. The women income went from $17 per season to over $105 per season, an increment of over 500%. With that also, we were able for the first time take our products, shea butter products, into the global market. We showcased our shea butter at the Nairobi International Fair. That was the first time South Sudan was showcasing our product at a regional level. Also, we were able to showcase our shea butter at the UAE. So with all the activities and the benefits that the African Development Bank and the stakeholders are providing, I wanted to ask FAO. I think UNDP and UN Women have mentioned some of their initiatives towards empowering women entrepreneurs. And specifically for us who are in the agriculture sector, we deal with crop production and also the value addition of shea nuts. What market linkage opportunities or inclusion opportunities do you have for women farmers or for women businesses to be able to provide market linkage to farmers so that we can be able, because one of the initiatives for women for people to be able to produce more is actually market linkage as well. We can provide them with the input, but if they don't have anywhere to sell their product, then that doesn't take us anywhere. So FAO, what opportunities do you have for entrepreneurs to provide market linkage?
All right, I think we end it there. Now we come, we come to our panels, and then we respond. We have a number of questions from about 6 people. Let me start with the African Development Bank.
Oh, thank you so much for the acknowledgement of some of the success stories and so forth. I think I'll answer one emotive question that I've met in several times about collaboration with local partners and so forth. The rest, I think. Now, for those who are in development, you know, in this country is one of the few countries that I have come, and there's a very distinct support that when you are supporting the country, you have to define whether you are in development, humanitarian, or peacekeeping. I have always have problems with that approach, but nevertheless, I have been put in a corner to focus on development. Now, for us, or most of about those that are supporting development, you know, there are three models that are being used here. I'll be frank with you, so that I can answer your question directly. It's either you are working with the government. We give the government money, and then they implement the project. Who they subsequently implement with is the choice of the government. In this case, we are working with the water utility to implement the water projects. But I'm not going to say this because she's here, but it's one of our most successful projects that have been implemented because in her leadership. To the extent that there are very few projects that are implemented and realize savings, which you can use for other purposes. I think, Madam, I have to make this publicly that we have implemented projects directly with the government and we have seen good results, one. The second model, which probably might not seem to be very unpopular, because that's why you see FAO here, UNDP, is what we call the third-party implementation arrangements. So what then do we do? The money belongs to government. But because of capacity issues, accounting and all other things, we then discuss with the government to identify a relevant UN agency that can then implement on behalf of the government, right? So we then sign a tripartite agreement between ourselves, a UN agency, and it's ourselves, the UN agents, and the government, right? But the UN agency is implementing on behalf of the government. So it's up to them, to the UN agents, to then identify the partners that they can work with. I think they have all of this. I think they are working with several partners and so on. They might not be visible. Now, I think your question, and then the third one is the other partners have chosen a very difficult route where they work directly with, they say they work directly with the communities. There's no money that comes to government. Government is not visible, okay? I don't know to what extent that model is working. But for us who are supporting infrastructure projects, he will tell you that if you invest 40 million in this water and sanitation projects, how then will the community sustain the maintenance of that infrastructure if you don't work with the government? I leave that to another day. But the issue is that before we identify which agents to work with, apart from the guidance of the government, we also look at the capacity of that agents to implement. You can also see that it's also the scale of investment that we're involved in. This transmission line is 150 kilometer transmission line from, is it Nimli? Nimli, yes. It's 150 kilometers on the South Sudan side, and then 150 kilometers on the Ugandan side. That is 300 kilometers. And the cost of that only on the South Sudan side is about 200 million. I mean, which local partner have got the capacity to do that? So invariably, because of, apart from capacity, it's also an issue of maintenance, sustainability, then we work directly with the government. So to cut a long, short story, to make the story short, for us, it's the scale of investments that we are putting in this country that probably prevents us from working directly with small local partners, which probably encourage other bigger organizations to say so. But there are also legal issues about the accounting and the strength of accounting and so forth, reporting and so forth. But I just wanted to emphasize that for us, it's third-party implementation and also direct support through government. Thank you.
All right. Let's go to UN Women. Yes, you can. You have some questions there from Pelgarang, and then also similar questions from Paul, and also Tiep also again mentioned UN Women, so you can combine them together.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so my brother from TT Foundation, we work with local partners, including TT Foundation, as you are aware, and maybe I'm revealing, we are even finalizing an agreement with TT now. The money might be small, but we'll be working with you. So UN mostly, we work through implementing partners. We don't implement directly. That's why when you ask, how can we spread? I say, well, if you don't have implementing partners there, we don't have the ability to monitor. And we need to accompany you in that regard. So we have over 25 partners that currently we are operating with in South Sudan. And for AFDB intervention, we have 3 partners. I can mention them. We have Change Agency Organization that is based in Yambio. We have Action for Sustainable Improvement and Management Organization, ASIMO, in WOW. And then we also have Start Trust Organization are working on the market linkage. Just to say that we've been implementing through there. Maybe we need to amplify or deepen the publicity of the work that we do with them. And to the amazing young ladies, I really love your passion for empowerment, like the little work you are doing, you know, changing lives in your communities. Some of them you are doing what market linkages. Some are also interested in internship program, career guidance, and even the talk show. That's amazing. I would love to come and watch some of them. But the challenge is that we are not able to give money to an organization that is not registered. It's also an issue of accountability. So for us, before we select partners, we do competitive process. We have to advertise, you have to apply, and then we do risk-based capacity assessment. Do you have your governance system? Do you have do you have staffing in place, finance, procurement? Do you have policy that segregate duties? So that's how, because we are also being audited. These are taxpayers' money. We have to account for. So the criteria is really, so we are not able to give individual money. But I would like, the good news is that UN Women with the Ministry of Gender and then Ministry of the University of Juba, we established an institution called the National Transformational Leadership Institute. How many of you know NTLI? It is housed in this university, University of Juba. 2016, that's when it was launched. I think I happened to be in South Sudan. So this institution is now a fully fledged institution. It is even running master's program. They are specialized in training young leaders to become training of trainers, to become transformational leaders. They also train existing women who are in leadership and they want to really advance their leadership journey. I think you might want to also engage NTLI and also try to engage the NGOs, some of the NGOs that we work with, because we give them funding. And within their funding, they also do they can support some of these initiatives. Because if I tell you the number of young women and young men who send applications to our office every day for support, and if we give you 1,000, we have to monitor, we don't have the capacity. And we have to assess you whether you have the capability. I remember 2018, I really tried. I said, we have to support young organizations. So there was this small organization doing very well, doing amazing initiatives. So we did an assessment. I realized that it was just one man. He said, you need another woman, you need a finance. So we even recruited those people to support. And they were running well. But actually, when I left South Sudan, I understand there were issues of mismanagement and whatnot, of the resources. So that's the thing. Sometimes if you want to sneak your head out, you are let down by that organization. And actually, by sneaking my head out, I was going beyond even what the organization is supposed to do. But just to see how we can grow this organization because of the amazing work they are doing. But I think you can partner with NGOs that we are supporting so that you can continue the good work that you are doing, or try to even do internship, render your free service to this organization so that you can reach out to more people. And when they see the good work that you are doing as leaders, even for free, it can help you to even get job in those organizations. That's where you can advance your career in the area that you are very passionate about. Internship program, yes, some UN organizations, you know, internship mostly are supposed to be unpaid because you are learning. Someone will say, if you are doing internship with me, you should be paying me because I'm teaching you. So that's the challenge. But also there's another theory of the school of thought that says that if somebody is doing internship, the person takes transportation, they spend time and whatnot, so you have to pay the person. So because of that, different organizations have their own policies on how they take people to do internship. But in UN Women recently, we've just started, but we've started with 3. We work with a partner that had a young woman incubator program, training young women who are fresh from university. So after that, we subjected 10 best ones to a written test, interview, and then the 3 most successful ones, we recruited them at the entry level to work with us in the organization as a very entry level to see how we can also, as part of our effort to integrate young women in our organization. I think UNDP, as they've also mentioned, they started an initiative. So I think we need to share more, my colleagues. We need to share more information, and you need to read more. You need to follow us on social media and know what we are doing. Follow UNDP, follow other UN agencies so that you have access to this information and then take advantage of them. I hope I have
You've touched most of them. You can give him the mic. I want to add something, and then we'll come to UNDP before we can talk about something very important for young people, the Youth Enterprise Fund. Yes.
Yeah, for Joy, actually, you, as the representative of FAO, you've made my day. Last time I was here, the young people were complaining that agriculture is not sexy. Meshach, how do you make it sexy enough? So it's a profession that people don't want to come to, the young people especially. In a wheel this time, women were able to harvest 2,000 bags. They would have done 4,000. But what they dug, they were not able just to weed, because of the energy, the labor, the young people, the boys, you know, they like tuk-tuk more than joining this profession. But I want to tell you that there is a lot of money in it. As she has said, one of the things that we are doing, like when you went to Nairobi, is that you can go for an exhibition, but you cannot be able to offload to Nairobi because of lack of the mark of quality by the Bureau of Standards. So last year, as you saw, through actually even the funding with the African Development Bank, we have now launched the mark of quality. You can take it, and when you are stopped, if the Bureau of Standards has that quality, then the government of South Sudan is able to stand on your behalf. And we are there are 5 commodities that we think South Sudan can move quickly on, and we are really working on that. That is honey, shea butter, as you've said. Shea butter, the problem is the offtake. For now, you cannot offtake it like that because it will not meet the quality mark. For experiment, for testing, yes, but we are working on it. As you can see now, South Sudan is exporting in a small way to fish to DRC, but we are looking at issues that, particularly with standards, that will make this business sustainable. And this year, we are really working for the offtake of fish to go fresh, because it's 95% dried, the one going, and with fish, the more you dry it, if you dry it 95%, you lose 95% of the cost. So there's a lot on the upstream that we are working now, close collaboration with the Bureau of Standards, the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and the Ministry of Trade, because everyone is producing the same product, so you cannot sell here in South Sudan. You need to offtake it. So those legal and many aspects, we are really working on them, but that mark of quality. Secondly, by end of this year, also the bigger laboratory will be there, 2 laboratories, the one in Nimble and the one here, because the government has to take responsibility. If impurities and all that, they have to pay the government that receives this. So those are issues that you're talking about, policy that we are working on them. Thank you.
All right. Yes, Dr. Legado.
Yes, just to reflect on some of the question quickly, related to our cooperation with NGOs. Yes, as UN Women, we do collaborate with NGOs in the 5, let's say, states where we are implementing the program. But to pick these NGOs, we use a competitive process. So if you are here as an NGO and you want to be involved in the next round of operation, please do apply. And the same also apply to the service provider. We had a meeting last time with the banks, and one of the questions they asked us is, why always stand big? But I think here also it will be a competitive process. I think at that time they were the only one providing mobile-based services. And I do believe also now with all the momentum that we are seeing with the central bank that want to really push forward this idea of cashless society, we'll be having more kind of democratization on the type of service providers that provide application-based, let's say, mobile services. And I do believe this can be also an opportunity for us to scale up this kind of initiative by involving many other people. And I want also to comment on the question from the ladies that was talking about leadership. I cannot recognize you in the room, but I think it's good also that you open up, you share your passion about leadership, because to me, it's not about ambition. It's even not about quality. Most of the time, it's just a matter of having a kind of network that will help you to be lifted. And I think UNDP provides this kind of opportunities. So we are interested on those who have, let's say, 18 and 35-year-old, and who has also a kind of undergraduate, let's say, diploma. So please do apply in the next round of application. You can use with our colleague here in the room. they will provide you with more information. And I think, yes, we'll be here to support you. And it's not only about this program. We have other kind of programs, even supported by AFDB. We are, for example, supporting 5 universities in South Sudan, somehow build their research skills, because you want to have this critical mass of young researchers that will be able to contribute to policy formulation in South Sudan. And we are targeting the University of Juba. We started even the University of Upper Nile, Bazer Ghazal, and I think John Garang University, and of course the University of Rumbek. So please do try to reach out to find all these opportunities that are there. And from our side also, as my colleague from UN Women mentioned, we will try to make all these initiatives more visible for you to have the opportunity to apply. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. And finally, we'll come to Under Secretary, Ministry of Youth and Sport to respond to the question about the Youth Enterprise Fund.
Okay, thank you. Before I go to respond to that, I just want to add something about the local partners. And the representative from African Development Bank mentioned about the third-party implementation, the TPI. This is the one that is disadvantaging us as South Sudan, as a government. The projects that I'm talking about here are not directly implemented by the Ministry of Youth, but they are under the third-party implementation. They are implemented by UNDP and UN Women. So I would say that Madam Yari is lucky that she's directly implementing our project under her institution. Sometimes we also left to wait for information from the partners to be able to know what is happening in the field. So I would also urge African Development Bank that the next time there are fresh projects, it would be good to do direct implementation, so that you hold people accountable. Because now you plus us will hold our implementing partners accountable. So it's better if you hold us accountable directly as a government. And if you do not also give direct implementation, how do you then measure the capacity issues? Because there could be a lot of capacity there, but because the project was decided to be implemented through third-party implementation, it is implemented like that, and we will never know that these people now have capacity and they have integrity. And then coming to that question of Youth Enterprise Development Fund bill, yes, it's been under discussion for a very long time, but because of the leadership changes, sometimes the minister is removed or the undersecretary is removed, and then the new ones have to come and start again from scratch, and then the ministry is divided. So all this, and if the bill had culture, now the culture is a different ministry and youth and sports is a different ministry. And if there was that aspect of the culture in the bill, we were asked to remove it by the Ministry of Justice. But I want to assure the young people here that we are working on it. In fact, before I came here, I was writing a letter of submitting that bill to the Ministry of Justice now, because we have removed the culture from the bill. So that is going to Ministry of Justice tomorrow, the bill itself, for them to review and to come back to us. If everything is okay, it goes to Council of Ministers and finally to the Assembly. The reason why I want to assure you that this bill will be passed this year is because of the projects that we are talking about here are connected to that bill. Because the money is a grant from African Development Bank to the government of Sudan. And a grant is something that is given to you. You don't take it back. So if we don't have that bill in place that also stipulates the establishment of a commission, then this money at the end of this year, when the 2 projects are closing, the money will be in standby. African Development Bank will be saying, yes, government of South Sudan, the money is there, now it is yours. What can you do with it? If we don't have that bill in place, we will not be able to transfer that money to now the government account where it will be managed. That institution established with the bill will be the one to manage the money. So it's very important to us as a ministry, as a government also, to make sure that this process is expedited this year and that the bill is approved and it becomes an act of parliament. There is a lady that spoke about the market linkages. And just to say something about that is our partners here also have training on the market linkages. UN Women has an IP implementing partner that is going to do basically the market linkages and how to link the products of these groups to the market. So there are those trainings. If you are part of those groups, then you will benefit from these trainings of the market linkages on how they also will create market from the people that are producing to the people that are buying. And it is appreciated that at least our shea butter has reached the international trade fair in Nairobi and in Dubai. Was it Dubai? Yes, in Dubai. And we can see that most of the things that we produce in this country can really have international market, given how organic they are. Because even the food that we consume from Uganda is not organic, but ours is very organic. So if we have the mark of quality, you will see that even what we take out is not going to be enough due to the demand because of the quality that we have. So we are appreciating that there are steps that are already being taken, the quality, the mark of product, and make sure that our products go into the international market. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, yes, of course. Lastly, Urban Water Corporation.
Yes, I just want to answer one of the young men that spoke about plastic collection from the Nile. Yeah, this is a very important initiative, and you have a big partner, which is the water sector. The Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation does the water resources management, and as Urban Water Corporation is our concern that the intake, as we speak now, gets these plastics, and we had to clean them each time. So if this initiative is improved, I think you need to register, and you will be a game player. I think also the Juba City Council is also playing that role. So you have many partners and stakeholders that can show you around. So you have to reach out more. I want to also remind our young youth that access to information is the key. Access to information is the key. As South Sudan Urban Water Corporation, the projects that are funded by the African Development Bank, we have involved many local NGOs that are registered, that are financially strong, that they have good financial management, procurement management, and we got involved. So, and also when they access the information, like if we put the information out there in our websites and you don't access, then maybe newspapers and radios, but if you don't access, then so you need to be engaging yourself. You need to reach out. I want to also support my daughter here about the undersecretary, about the implementation. I encourage the implementation of the government institution of the projects, but I know there are strict rules and regulations from the bank that we need to follow. They make assessment, and we have agreed to work together with the African Development Bank to learn. We have improved our financial management, our procurement system. We have also all improved those. So we are in the right position to continue with that. So we need to convince our donors that we can do it, that we can do the finances without corruption, we can do procurement without corruption, and then I think we will be given that chance. Thank you very much, and happy anniversary for the African Development Bank and all of us that are involved. Thank you.
And on that, I would like you just to pass the mic to Dr. Tembe for his last remarks on behalf of the African Development Bank. What would be your last message before we can wind up this conversation?
Thank you so much for coming. The way we have organized the anniversary, we didn't want it to be an event but a process. So we're launching it today, but the actual day, I think you get the invitation, is on the 25th of of February, where I think there's a bigger audience and so forth. This was a launch, and these are part of the strategic partners who we are working very closely. But thank you so much, and also thank you for our host for organizing this. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of this conversation. Just a quick reminder, let's get to know the names of our guests today. We had our panelist, Rukaya Mohammed. She's the UN Women Country Representative. Thank you very much for being here with us. Yarpol from South Sudan Urban Water Corporation, Managing Director. Thank you very much for being with us here. We had Meshak Malo, FAO Country Representative. Thank you very much for being with us. And UNDP Economic Advisor, that's Dr. Ligani Sene. Thank you, Doctor, for being with us here. And right next to me on my right, Under Secretary, National Ministry of Youth and Sports, Deborah Akech. Thank you very much for being with us. And finally, Mr. Temba Behebehe. We say happy birthday to you, African Development Bank, as we commemorate the 60th anniversary of existence. Let's give them one round of applause, please. All right. We'd also like to say thank you to Uniport Center, and thank you to University of Juba for hosting us here today. And thank you all for being part of this conversation. From here, we'll go and have a group photo outside there. And we say bye for now.